Well, hello again. Welcome again to another episode of Down to Earth but Heavenly Minded. I'm your host, Brish. Thank you for joining me. And today we'll be continuing on in the book of Leviticus. And this is a longer chapter, and I think it covers about 5 different things. And the first thing that it covers will be the Sabbath year, or the Sabbath year, yeah. Leviticus 25, and then we'll look at the year of Jubilee. And so let's read. I might make a few comments as we go here, but this is going to be a little longer chapter. So, all right, the Sabbath year. The Lord spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel and say to them, when you come into the land that I give you, the land keep the land shall keep a Sabbath to the Lord. For 6 years you shall sow your fields, and for 6 years you shall prune your vineyards and gather in the fruits. But on the 7th year they shall be a Sabbath of solemn rest for the land, a Sabbath to the Lord, and you shall not sow your fields or prune your vineyards. You shall not reap what grows of itself in your harvest, or gather the grapes to your undressed vines." Excuse me. "It shall be a year of solemn rest for the land, and the Sabbath of the Lord shall provide food for you, for yourself, and for your male and your female slaves, and for you, your hired workers and sojourners who live with you, and for your cattle, and for the wild animals that are in your land. All its yield shall be for food." Okay, before we go into the year of Jubilee, I got to mention something here. You know, this is one thing that the Israelites didn't do. And so the Lord, and we'll see this as we go later on, further into the Word of God, we're going to see that they were taken into captivity, and they were kept in captivity for all the years that they didn't keep this Sabbath of the land. And so it was, they were in Babylon in captivity for all those years, and the land got all the rest that was required because they didn't obey the Lord. I thought I'd just mention that. We're going to see that when we get to it, though, and we will talk a little more about it. So, looking at the year of Jubilee, you shall count 7 weeks of years, 7 times 7 years, so that the time of the 7th week, or the year that gives you 49 years, then you shall sound the loud trumpet on the 10th day of the 7th month, on the Day of Atonement. You shall sound the trumpet throughout all your land, and you shall consecrate the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout the land to all the inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you, when each of you shall return to his property, and each of you shall return to his clan. The 50th year shall be a jubilee for you. In it you shall neither sow nor reap what grows of itself, nor gather the grapes from the undressed vines. For it is a jubilee. It shall be holy to you. You may eat of the produce of the field. In this year, the Jubilee, each of you shall return to his property. And if you made a sale of your neighbor, or buy from your neighbor, you shall not wrong one another. You shall pay your neighbor account to the neighbor of years after the Jubilee, and he shall sell to you according to the number of years of crops. If the years are many, you shall increase the price, and if the years are fewer, you shall reduce the price. For it is a number of crops that he will sell to you. You shall not wrong one another, but you shall fear your God, for I am the Lord your God. Therefore you shall do my statutes, and keep my rules, and perform them, and then you will dwell in the land securely. The land will yield its fruit, and you will eat your fill, and do in the securely, and dwell in it securely. And if you say, what shall we eat in the 7th year, if we may not sow or gather in our crops? I will command my blessings on you in the 6th year, so that it will produce a crop sufficient for 3 years. When you sow in the 8th year, you will be eating some of the old crop, and shall eat the old crop the 9th year, and the crop when its crop arrives. So now, this is kind of a new start when we think about the Jubilee. Everything is going to start fresh. And now we come to the redemption of property. The land shall not be sold in perpetually, for the land is mine. For you are strangers and sojourners with me, and in all the country you possess, you shall allow a redemption of the land. If your brother becomes poor and sells part of the property, then his nearest redeemer shall come and redeem what his brother has sold. If a man has no one to redeem it, and then himself becomes property and finds sufficient means to redeem it, let him calculate the years since he sold it and pay back the balance to the man to whom he sold it, and then return to his property. But if it does not have sufficient means, but if he doesn't have sufficient means to recover it, then what he sold shall return in the hand of the buyer until the year of Jubilee. In the Jubilee it shall be released, and he shall return to his property. That's what I meant by, kind of a new start. Everything is going to start fresh. If a man sells a dwelling house in a walk city, and he may redeem it with a year of its sale for the full year, he shall have the right of redemption. If it is not redeemed within a full year, then the house in the walk city shall belong to a perpetual to the buyer, and throughout the generations it shall not be released in the Jubilee. So that's kind of a condition there. But the house of the village that has no walk around them, or wall around them, I'm sorry, shall be. Did I read that right? Let me back up here. I don't see it here. Well, I don't know if I messed up or not here. But anyway, it starts out, let me find it here. Okay, but the house of the village that has no wall around them shall be classified with the field of the land that may be redeemed, and there shall be a release of Jubilee, as for the city of the Levites. And the Levites may redeem at any time the house in the cities, their possession. And if one of the Levites exercises his right of redemption, then the house that was sold in the city they possess shall be released in the Jubilee. For the houses of the city of the Levites are their possessions among the people of Israel. But the field of the pasture land belongs to their city, may not be sold, for there is a possession forever. I'm going to pause here for a minute because I got to clear my throat and I'll be right with you. Okay, we have the kindness of the poor brothers. If your brother becomes poor and cannot maintain himself with you, and you support him as though he was a stranger and a sojourner, and he shall live with you, take no interest from him or profit, but fear your God, that your brother may live beside you. You shall not lend him your money at interest, nor give him your food for profit. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, and gave you the land of Canaan, and to be your God. If your brother becomes poor beside you and sells himself to you, you shall not make him serve as a slave. He shall be with you as a hired worker, and as a sojourner he shall serve you until the year of Jubilee. Then he shall go out from you, his children with him, and go back to his own clan, and return to his possessions of his father. For they are my servants, who I bought out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as slaves. You shall not rule over him ruthlessly, but shall fear your God. As for your male and your female slaves, whom you have, you shall buy male and female slaves from among the nations that are around you. You may also buy from among the strangers who sojourn with you, and they and their clans that are with you, who have been born in your land, and they may be your property. You may bequeath them to your sons after you, to inherit as a possession forever. You may make slaves of them, but over your brothers and people of Israel you shall not rule over another ruthlessly. So now we come to the redeeming a poor man. If a stranger or a sojourner with you becomes rich, and your brother beside him becomes poor and sells himself to the stranger or sojourner with you, or to a member of a strange clan, then after he is sold, he may be redeemed. One of his brothers may redeem him, or his uncle or his cousin may redeem him, or a close relative from his clan may redeem him, or if he grows rich, he may redeem himself. He shall calculate with his buyer from the year when he was sold himself to him until the year of Jubilee. And the price of his sale shall vary with the number of years. The time he was with the owner shall be rated as the time of a hired worker. If there are still many years left, he shall pay proportionally for redemption some of his sale price. If there remains but a few years until the year of Jubilee, he shall calculate and pay for his redemption in proportion to his years of service. He shall treat him as a worker, a hired year by year. He shall not rule ruthlessly over him in your sight. And if he is not redeemed by these means, then he and his children with him shall be released in the year of Jubilee. For it is to me that the people of Israel are servants. These are my servants who I brought out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord, your God. Well, that ends the reading of this chapter. Until next time, bye for now.